What's up, tribe? Good evening. Happy Monday to you all, you guys. Thank you guys for being here. And without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. Please welcome my special guest, Miss Winter Harris, to the platform.
Hey,
Hey,
hey.
Winter, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for being here, and I appreciate that you are doing this interview. I know that you are winding down your time with Love and Marriage DC, but I
Yes,
appreciate that I know you're doing a few interviews, so I appreciate that I'm one of the people that you agreed to come and talk to.
absolutely. Thank you for having me. And yes, there's a number lined up, but I do want to do my due diligence on my way out. And honestly, the fans and the audience, the viewers have been amazing to me. It's been a rough, bumpy ride, but we made it through, and it's
We
all
made
love.
it. We made
We
it.
made
It has
it.
been a bumpy ride.
Yes, we made it through though. Yes, it was.
And if you are here from the Winter Wonderland side, I was going to pin the link to your channel, which I'll still do. One of my mods will pin the link to your channel.
Okay.
But if you are from the Winter Wonderland side, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here as well.
Yes.
And I know that you are building your YouTube community, so we're going to definitely make sure that that we get the link in the chat. So you guys, if you're not subscribed to Winter, you guys go over there. Winter, they dropping the snowflakes. They dropping the snowflakes in the chat. Winter is over there reviewing Martha's Vineyard, you guys. So y'all need to go over there and check that out.
Yes, I am.
We are going to jump right in because again, I want to be respectful of your time.
Sure.
But I want to, and if if I'm skipping over something that you want to elaborate on, but I know that you have done interviews, and I know there's probably some stories that maybe you're like, I done told this story, but so if you want to elaborate, say, well, we can get deep into that, but if it's but it's like if I say it and you're like, yeah, you got it, we can move on to get to something that we already talked about. So one thing I don't think a lot of people know a lot about you. We'll talk a little bit about before Love and Marriage DC, before what we know. So you're originally from Arkansas, right?
Born and raised.
Born and raised in Arkansas. So what was that like growing up in Arkansas? I don't want to tell your age, but in the time period that you were there.
Yeah, honestly, I'm proud of my age. I look very young. Most people don't assume that I'm as old as I am, but I'm 42.
Okay,
and yes, 42 years old, born and raised in Arkansas. Oh gosh, there's not a whole lot there. I'm a typical country girl. I was honestly raised in a predominantly Caucasian like city. So the Black community was actually very tight. Everyone knew everyone. My parents were pastors, so I was born and raised in the church. If people wonder why I come off so green, my world is through the eyes of church. That's literally how I grew up. So my parents were very strict. My world was very sheltered. I don't even think I watched really my first Black movie until I was a freshman in college. I don't know any rap songs. I cannot repeat the lyrics to most things. I have no clue what most Black movies are. Like someone asked me, I'm so serious. But I mean, I share that because I think the naiveness that people see sometimes across screen, if they understand my upbringing, they can connect the dots and a lot makes sense.
Gotcha.
Because I did grow up very sheltered. All that to say, I had a great childhood. My parents were married for 27 years. I'm the oldest of three girls. I have two younger sisters. And I mean, life in Arkansas is life in Arkansas, y'all. We ain't got no malls. I think the only mall we had got blew away by a tornado.
Okay. Well, I'm a little older than you, so when I think of Arkansas, all I think of is Bill Clinton. To be honest, I think of Bill Clinton.
Yeah, it's a very close-minded. And I'm Arkansas proud. Please hear me when I say this. I am Arkansas proud. I rep my state. In fact, I'm using my platform to go back into my state and actually do some amazing things. But it's just very close-minded. I tell people all the time, they ask me if I go back home. And I said, no, not really, with the exception of funerals, because there's just nothing there. And you honestly are stepping back in a time warp. They haven't progressed much outside of the 1960s and 70s. So
Okay.
still very much black and white, and there's a lot of racism. I remember when we went back for the first time after my ex-husband, this is my kid's father, he had just, got picked up by the Redskins. We had just bought a new car, and we were driving home, like from, DC to Arkansas. And we were driving through Memphis, and we got pulled over. Black cop. And he said, "Is this y'all's car?" And we were like, "Yeah." He was like, "Well, if you'll just hold this 1 second, I need to run the license plates because, yeah, we need to make sure this is your vehicle and make sure it's not stolen." And so he went back, ran the plates, came back. He was like, "What do you do to drive a car so nice?" And I was like,
Wow.
"Yo, this is exactly why I don't come home, because
Right.
that's the mindset." And so
That is the mindset.
it's unfortunate, but yeah, I'm born and raised, went to college at the University of Arkansas. That's where I met the kid's father, and from there he got signed by the Redskins, and that's how I ended up in the DMV.
Right. Well, so you just took my next two questions. All right, let me go. So, is it true? I don't know if this is true. Now, somebody said that you do pageants or did pageants. Was that so? You're a pageant girl?
I'm a pageant girl. I started doing pageants at the age of 5. And I competed in the Miss America circuit all the way through college. And I continued, I actually won. The Alphas have a pageant that goes all the way to national called Miss Black and Gold. And I won Miss Black and Gold for the University of Arkansas in the year 2000.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wish I knew that. We, over here, we reviewed the documentary, the series they did on Miss America. It was like a 5-part, and they talked about the episodes that dealt with the color and the racism. And we talked. I wish I would have invited you to come and join us on the panel.
So
I'm sure you have some stories to tell.
So I will tell a story right now. So fun fact, if you guys go look it up, the first Black Miss America that was crowned after Vanessa Williams. Remember, she got her crown stripped.
Suzette Charles, right?
Yep. She literally won it. They stripped it. The first Black Miss America that won it was Debbie Turner.
Yes. They talked about Debbie Turner. Yes.
Debbie was born and raised in my hometown.
Small world.
It's a small world. So my dad knew Debbie's mom. And when Debbie won Miss America, she came back home because our city did a parade for her. I think I was 9. No. She won. Yeah, I was 10 when she won. So being a young pageant girl, I was mesmerized. My dad took me over to her mom's house when she was home, and she signed one of my photos I had of her. But that just kind of sparked like my interest in continuing, because it was more like scholarship focused, and I wanted to go to college outside of Jonesboro. I didn't want to stay there. And it was the one thing my parents allowed me to do, because I couldn't go to dances. I couldn't do nothing else, but they let me do pageants. The first pageant I ever did was in church, Jeff.
You know what? The churches would do it. That was the one thing that was consistent. When we were doing the documentary, the one thing that was consistent that kept coming up was people were doing it for scholarships. People were doing it for the scholarship money. I'm a real quick, and we're gonna move on. Sure. One of my roommates in college was a pageant girl, and when I say she was obsessed, it was a whole thing. But she was a pageant girl.
It's a culture. It's a culture.
Oh yeah. Oh, it was definitely a culture. I learned so much because I was like, I about got beat up because I was like, pageant. And she was like, she got me together.
Yeah, no, it's a real thing. I still do guest judging for local pageants in the area. But it's
okay. So you come to DC, which was I'm sure a culture shock and everything else. I heard you talking on your live about the financial shock because buying a house and all of that. I remember you talking, you were talking about that, but moving to DC with your college sweetheart, getting thrust into the world of the NFL, which, I mean, I know he played college ball, but, being thrust into that whole world of the NFL, what was that like? I mean, what was, whoo?
So, for he and I, we didn't know that he would go to the NFL. He was what they considered injury prone. And he was very education focused as well. So he graduated college with 2 degrees because we really just did not think that he would go to the pros. It's just, it was just God's will that he was
Mhm.
able to get back healthy. He did a few camps and the Redskins signed him. He actually was courted from the 5th round on, and they ended up giving him a free agent contract. And it's just where we stayed for 3 years. All that to say, for us being young kids that were in love, I knew nothing about football. I didn't even know the seriousness of it. We were just 2 kids in love, and we got married. Anyway, all that to say, I don't think anybody prepared us for the change in all of the pressure and
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
expectations, the eyes on you, the women, the access. For the first time, we didn't have to worry about paying our bills anymore. Like, could you imagine going from being 20-year-old struggling college kids
Mhm.
to now I can go in the mall and drop 5K at once if I want to, and I did it. Like,
Right.
I was like, what? Like, we have money now. This is great.
Woo!
Right. But the lack of maturity, because again, it's not like they put these guys through any sort of boot camp to make them ready for these pressures. They just throw them into it. And a lot of them are still just kids. They're just kids with, incredible
Yeah.
talent. And now they have a lot of money and access. And that usually is a recipe for disaster, as it was for us. As a new NFL wife and a young mom, I really struggled to fit in because I was around like such like opulence. I mean, my friends would, I'm just like, y'all really live like this? Like, I struggled to fit in and figure out my way. Thankfully, I found a really good group of friends. We're still friends to this day. And they took me under their wings and just helped me navigate. But I did not know that that friendship would also be the friendship circle that would walk me through really the most difficult time of my life. And that was when I found out that my ex-husband at the time was having an affair with our nanny. So
How cliche is that?
I know, but it's the truth.
I believe
It's yeah. And the thing is, when I think back to it, it's she was, the nanny for a lot of the wives. So I hired her by recommendation, and she had, incredible reviews. But it's just one of those things, being young, and you live and you learn. But it was an extremely painful process. She was
yeah.
pregnant at the same time as I was. We both were pregnant with boys. Her son was born the month after mine.
Oh no.
And at the time, we weren't sure if it was his or not. So it
Oh my
just, y'all,
gosh.
was such and I had two younger children at the time. So I think my older two were actually, I'm trying to think, yeah, 6 and 4. So I'm pregnant with my third, and I have a 6 and a 4-year-old, and I'm
Oh.
navigating this devastating discovery. And then 2 weeks before I found out that he was cheating, my dad left my mom after 27 years of marriage. So
Oh man, you had a rough situation going on.
I call 2007 the absolute year from hell on wheels. Like, the only bright spot in that year was the birth of my son, and it was devastating. Like, it was like my whole world had crumbled in a month. The month of June is when everything happened. And
Wow.
it took a lot. It took a lot to find the strength, honestly, just to keep going. And it's not that I wanted to, do something to myself, but the depression that I battled, and the anger, and oh my God, it was horrible. But all that to say, I made it through. My friends were incredible, and they really supported me. I did try to make the marriage work, y'all. I was one of them, pray it through. I was very religious, so I believed in, praying and fighting for my marriage. But I ended up filing for divorce about 8 years later. So I tell people I stayed 8 years longer than I should have, trying to work it out. But it was a lot it was a lot of drama. And at some point, you got to give yourself permission to get off the Ferris wheel, and I did.
Yeah, yeah.
But it
And
wasn't a trial.
you have to forgive yourself for, and I'm not saying you have it, but I'm saying in general, you have to forgive yourself for staying. Because I mean, listen,
Absolutely.
everybody makes the decision that works for them in that moment. So
Yeah. And trust me, I mean, for the first time in my life, I didn't have to worry about putting food on the table and keeping a roof over my head. I had 4 children to think about, and I was not finished with my degree. So that was a promise to myself that I made. I was going to finish my college degree. The year that we were going through divorce, I actually got my master's through that year. So it kept me distracted. And I've done very well considering, but it just was a definite difficult time. So yeah, I think it's one of the things that comes with being a professional player's wife. You do have to navigate the pressure of other women, and because it's readily available. I tell people all the time.
Oh yeah.
Thoughts are allowed in the lobbies of our guys' hotel rooms. We are not allowed access. Make that make sense.
That's crazy.
Right.
That crazy?
So yeah, it's crazy. It's so crazy. But yeah, we made it through, and it took a lot of years of processing through therapy to learn how to forgive. My kids he actually had another child outside of our marriage that I later learned about. So my children have 2 half siblings. So it took a lot of therapy to work through the bitterness and unforgiveness to get to a place where I could freely allow for my children to openly love their half siblings, and understanding that the kids were innocent. They had nothing to do with it. And it took a long time to separate that, but I got to that place. As a result, he and I have an amazing co-parenting relationship. And I tell people all the time, I didn't just forgive for myself. I forgave for the freedom of my kids, because I didn't want my children to bear the burden of my pain or my hurt that wasn't their place in their position. And once I did that, honestly, our life became so much more peaceful. And yeah, I just continued to trudge ahead and move forward.
Oh, well, thank you for. I knew. Well, I'm not gonna say I knew. I thought I knew that there was infidelity, but I didn't know, because out of respect, I know you didn't go into all of that. With the season. But thank you for sharing all that. Now I'm gonna say this to you. I know you and Ashley are becoming good girlfriends now, and I know you said you don't have a lot of experience with Black movies, but if you have not seen Waiting to Exhale, okay, I need you to watch Angela Bassett, okay? When she go through that man's closet, okay?
I've actually seen Waiting to Exhale, and let me tell you, I can identify. I honestly had a Waiting to Exhale moment. I don't have any of. I set our wedding album on fire, and I was like, "This is my Waiting to Exhale moment." It was insane. But listen, I don't judge nobody in their pain. Betrayal is a painful experience. It really is.
It is. So that connects us. That's working us into Love and Marriage DC, because that's how you met Monique, right? Through the Commanders organization.
Yes.
That's how you met Monique Samuels, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Now,
so Chris was the teammate of my ex-husband. So they played for the Commanders/Redskins during the same time. Yes.
Okay. I'm a hardcore born and raised, because I'm a born and raised Washingtonian. So I'm a hardcore. I say Redskins, so I don't mean to disrespect anyone by saying it, but I'm hardcore. So I remember I have been and I'm a Bama fan too. So I have been a Chris Samuels fan since Alabama. So I remember, I followed him all the way through his career here. So I was excited as a Potomac fan when Monique came on the show, because I remember seeing pictures of their wedding and everything, right? Yep. So Monique leaves Potomac. She's the anchor of this new franchise here in DC.
Correct.
And we meet you in the very first episode. Now, the story that I've heard that and again, you can elaborate that you sort of accidentally ended up on the show, because Melody Holt was supposed to link the shows, which happens with franchises. They bring a star or anchor to sort of find a way to weave them in to introduce them. So that made perfect sense that they would bring Melody in. I think you said she got sick or something and she wasn't able to make it.
Yep.
And so you came through in the clutch for Monique, because she was going to be filming. They didn't want to have to reschedule it. And here comes winter. So do you want to tell us about that experience?
Yeah, I mean, where they filmed the episode that night was actually down the street from my house. So it wasn't like I had to travel far. It was about a 10-minute drive. And yeah, I really just went in there to do my job. I was the special guest speaker that night. I was there to be transparent, share my story. And at this time, people have to understand it may seem odd to just be so open and candid about sharing, your story of betrayal, but people have to understand at that point, what we're talking about 2022, this happened to me in 2007. I've gone through my healing process. I honestly can tell the story with a smile on my face. I don't have any attachment pain wise to the story. It happened. I can't
Mm-hmm.
change it. It's my reality, but I've grown and I've moved on. So I don't have any apprehension with sharing it. I'm not embarrassed by it. It's what happened. It's part of life,
And you didn't do it. It wasn't you.
Right.
Yeah.
I innocent bystander and I was
Right,
impacted.
right.
So I think that kind of caught people off guard that I was willing to be so open, but they're not connecting the dots that this is so old. Like we've already processed through this. We've moved on so I can share it freely. And yeah, that transparency caught their attention enough to be like, hey, do you mind, filming again? So I filmed again at the Tyler's anniversary party, and
Mm-hmm.
Carlos had flown in. I didn't know that, but they called me back, and Carlos at that time extended an invitation for me to be a part of the cast. So yeah, that's how I ended up on Love and Marriage DC. I didn't audition. I do know prior to that, Monique had asked me and my ex-husband, you guys see on the show, earlier to be one of the couples. But once I learned that there was some shady business going on with him, I declined the opportunity. We had done previous 2 casting interviews and
Yeah, because
had,
I remember a clip of the casting interview floating
yes,
around. Yeah, yeah.
absolutely. Dear God. But yeah, thank God that I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine that blowing up on camera because it absolutely would have blown up at some point. But y'all talking about an explosive first season. Oh, that would have been even crazier. So yeah, that's
Oh,
how.
we can. If that had played out on camera, oh my gosh, baby Carlos would have lost it. He'd be like, "Oh my goodness!" Can you imagine that would have signed, sealed, and delivered,
Listen,
honey?
y'all would be locked in for a different reason. But
Okay.
and the crazy part is that even despite all the craziness around him, I mean, he was willing to film. Like literally willing to have his behind on camera. It's the craziest thing.
But you know what? I'm gonna say this in reviewing reality shows, and when you find out these people willingly go on a reality show, when Jen Shaw with the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, she already knew that the feds were watching her, and she voluntarily went on a reality show. Teresa Giudice in the Real Housewives of New Jersey, she already knew that there was some financial and some criminal situations going on with her husband and his business partner, and she willingly went on a reality. Like these people, you're like, but wait, you knew, you
Ugh.
you walked into cameras knowing. So there's a level. I've seen it. I was just leaving it at that. I've seen it.
So I'll say in this case, I consider it very narcissistic behavior. To think that you are above reproach, that you would bring your behind on a national platform, knowing that the waters you walk in are murky.
Okay.
It's a little mental. I'm going to be honest. And there was a lot of that going on, but thankfully, I was spared having to deal with that. But he was still willing to film. But, in retrospect, I think about this. In his sick mind, I really think he thought the purpose, and I wouldn't even put it past the producer to sell him on the opportunity to get before me to try to win me back.
I can see it. I can see it.
Telling you.
I can see
Now
it.
yes, now that I think about it, I'm like, y'all probably told this crazy man that he was gonna have an opportunity to win me back. Because when I look at, that, what do you call it? That final scene where at the cast trip at Monique's lake house. Some of the things he would say, and like he already knew, like, sir, you keep coming towards me. There is security. You can't be near me. Like, what are you doing? But he kept trying to engage me, and here, I'm gonna take this cue. And I heard her say, and I'm like, bro, but now I'm like, oh, you were thinking this was gonna be the opportunity to try to win me back. Somebody told you wrong. Bless your
Somebody, yeah, they had him thinking that there was a chance. He thought it was a chance. Now, season 1. So now we're here. We're not gonna spend a lot of time on season 1, but we're gonna touch on it a little bit.
Yeah.
Season 1, you sort of accidentally fell into it. You knew you had this drama going on with your marriage.
Yes.
What did you want your storyline to be? Like, if you were in control of the storyboard, what would we have learned about Winter season 1?
If I was in control of my story, we would have had a real life capturing of Arisa Tisa discovery. Like, discovering that you've been deceived, because that's essentially what happened. And for me, even when I talked to Monique about it, she was like, this was going to be a great opportunity for me to share my testimony. Because again, people have to understand, being very religious, we teach people in church that if it's God, it shouldn't take a long time. So the rushing thought process is very common across the board. Most of my friends get married in a year or less. But what that situation taught me is that oftentimes people that are deceptive bank on you rushing because they can get you to lock in before that mask falls off.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, I bought a lesson, honestly, that I felt like this platform would give me the access to dismantle and hopefully save some other women from going down the same road. Because that whole BS, if it ain't God, or if it is God, it shouldn't take too long. No, love was never meant to be rushed. And if it is God, the time won't matter, actually. So it actually taught me how to slow down. It also taught me to take accountability, because even though his red flags weren't necessarily like abusive red flags, or, I didn't see him maybe doing something criminal, some of the things that kind of made me uncomfortable, I should have spoken up. And I did try to call the engagement off, but he weaseled his way in our premarital counseling and made me feel bad. And I was like, no, Winter, listen to your gut. Your gut is never wrong.
To that voice.
Yes. And I overrode that. So I take responsibility for that. And also I also take responsibility for not wanting to be too shamed for calling off a wedding, because we had a lot of eyes on it at the time. I was a major voice in the Christian community. So for me to call off this wedding where thousands of people have their eyes on it, I didn't want to do it. I'm gonna be honest. And that's on me. I would have rather taken the shame that would have brought for that little bit of time versus the drama that came with having to get rid of him, because that was a pain in the butt. It really, really was. And he wasn't an easy person to divorce, because he fought me all the way through to the very end. And it took
because he thought he had a good thing. He wasn't trying to let go of that good thing.
Yeah, well, he probably wish he never met me. By the time my attorney wore him out in court, he finally left me alone. But yeah, I bought some sense. So that's what I would have wanted my story to be. A story that was a story of warning, a story of warning and a good lesson. And hopefully one that gave hope that you can go through something like that and still bounce back. But I did not get that.
Well, we know that was not the story that was told. No. So first of all, I was going to say this. After that, to me, I think that, because if I'm being honest, I was like, Winter, that Winter. Ooh, that Winter. But after that night at the lake cabin and you sang that song, baby, I ain't lying. I sang that song for 2 weeks. Sign these papers, baby. It sticks in your head. And I think that night, because you even had Ashley and Arena singing the song about it. I mean, I was like, see, she done brought everybody together. Yep. Listen. So season 1 did not go the way you wanted to go. I remember your lives. I believe that's when I first subscribed to you, because I remember you going live and you sort of doing what Ashley kind of did this season to say, hey, this is what y'all saw, but this is what y'all don't know. And this is what y'all need to know. And so I respect. I used to feel differently, I'll be honest, but I respect now, especially with reality TV becoming so much more produced than it used to be. I respect you guys using your platform to let people know, hey, we know what you saw. However, there was a lot that you didn't see. Because for me, it helps me put things into context. And I know some people are like, I don't care. I'm gonna watch the show, and whatever I see is just whatever I see.
Right.
But it does help me put things in context. So getting to the end of season 1, and I don't want to I know you spoke about your experience at the season 1 reunion.
Yes.
I remember that reunion, and I do remember thinking, wow, like
Mm-hmm.
they came at you guns a-blazing.
Yes.
Is that what you expected it to be? I mean, were you like, okay, I know they're coming for me, or were you really kind of like, wow, I kind of thought we had moved past some of this?
So let me tell you, I will say, so it's interesting that you asked this, because my stylist called me today and she was like, I had to tell you, I ran into your old stylist. And I was like, oh, okay. She was like, yeah. She was like, we chatted. She said she told me she styled you for the reunion for season 1. And I was like, yeah, she did. She was like, but we got to talking and she told me how bad it was. And she was like, it was interesting to hear her perspective. And for her to not, she didn't know what I knew or didn't know. She just started talking. She was like, wow. So I knew, and Monique told me, make sure you have, your stuff together, because they are going to come at you. But I never, I'm thinking the reunions that I've seen, people come at each other, but it's never like, I never felt like anybody was going to get attacked, or I always saw, women coming for women. And I'm like, I can handle myself with the girls. I'm not worried about that. Like, I never even factored in the men, if I'm being honest. I really didn't. Because again, a lot of my back and forth interaction had been with the ladies. So I personally never factored in going at it or having the, you know what I mean? Like, that just wasn't my mentality. All that to say, my sister told me, Winter, they're gonna try to make it seem like everything is your fault. That's the way they've edited this season. Your best bet, honestly, is just to come in and apologize for how you offended them and just move on. That's all you can do. Just apologize. Because the audience is not seeing, they may have said something to you nasty first and you're just responding. They're only going by what they've been shown through the edits. So you can't come in defending that. Just apologize and let the reunion move on to something else. So that's how I came into the reunion. So what made it so brutal is that's how I came out. I apologized off rip. It did not stop them attacking me. Gotcha. Now they flipped that reunion and put my apology last, but that's not the order in which it happened.
Okay, I got you. So you started off apologizing, but it was almost like they had their checklist, and it was like, correct. Well, it was kind of this. I mean, not to go into, but it was kind of the same thing with, again, based on what I saw. I can only go by what I saw. The whole alcoholism conversation with Ashley and the Tylers. She said, I never said you were alcoholic, but it was like they were so intent on the conversation. It was almost like they didn't hear her say that. Right. So, okay. And again, what was edited? I don't know what was edited out, but what I saw. That
actually happened as it happened. What you saw happen was really so yeah. So that's the thing. When a person literally has an agenda, it's like, what what are you hearing or what are you thinking? But it turned into something I would have never imagined, honestly. And like I said, it wasn't stopped. So I think at some point, first of all, I would never let my husband come at another woman like that. Like, I just would be like, no, baby, I got this. Don't you worry. You sit this one out.
Sit this one out. Right.
Let me handle it. So the fact that, like I said, it wasn't stopped and it was allowed to continue for so long. And I tell people, you guys get an edited version. We were out there for 3 to 4 hours. So can you imagine 3 to 4 hours of this constant berating like that? Like, it was insane. And it was just interesting to hear my stylist say that she ran into my stylist. She was actually they were on set, so they witnessed everything. And she told my stylist, she was like, I was angry and I didn't know Winter enough to feel the anger that I felt, but I was angered on her behalf. Like it was absolutely awful.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So with that being said, why do you make the decision to come back for a season 2?
So that's another discussion too. They knew that I was on the fence about not coming back. At this point, my conversation was no longer with production. I got a call from the higher up to talk to me about coming back. Okay. And between that conversation, they assured me, like, you're going to have the opportunity to correct that. We honestly, this second season is hinged on you returning. Like,
because at that point they already knew they had lost Monique, or did they not? It was
no.
Just, no. Oh, okay. Okay.
No, Monique
just became a fan favorite.
Yeah.
From season 1. Got it.
So after having that conversation, and at the time, the higher up that I spoke to, I had a really good relationship with him, and I trusted what he said to me. And then I still went back and prayed about it and talked. And my family did not want me to come back. I'm going to be honest, because it really was bad. But I said, you know, I don't want to leave people thinking that I'm this horrible home wrecking person. If I have an opportunity to try to correct that narrative, I want to. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like that was my thought process at the time, and I believe the person that was there. Now, ironically, he ended up leaving.
Oh, wow. Okay. So the person that convinced you to come back, they ended up leaving the company. Okay. Well, you know.
Yeah, I'm like, what in the world? But I trusted him enough, and I trusted his word. Now, I also want people to understand I'm a reality TV rookie. I've never wanted to do reality TV. This has come as a shock to me that I've even ended up in this area of entertainment. It wasn't something I aspire to do. I'm more of I prefer to have my own talk show or radio show. Like, that's Winter. I would rather act or do something like that. But this was not anything I had on my vision board. All that to say, it was really important to me that if I had the opportunity to correct what I felt like the poor narrative that they created around me, then I was going to take the opportunity. That said, I knew going into this season, I wasn't coming back.
Okay. So you kind of wanted a redemption arc. Like, I'm going to come back because I don't want to leave that, but I know this isn't for me.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
So I will say, if you notice, if you read, you can read the comments. People will say Winter gave nothing this season. Winter is not engaged this season. We want the old Winter back. People were never going to get that out of me. That was not the goal. I intentionally laid low this season on purpose. I would rather people be mad at me for not giving anything than to give something and still be attached to what I feel like was a poor narrative season 1.
So okay. Well, it was intentional. It was intentional that you weren't giving. I got it. Okay. Yes. I can respect that. So when you guys started filming, you found out early on that you were losing Monique and Chris. What did that do for you as a cast member to say, okay, things are gonna have to kind of pivot now? Like, what was the reaction? I mean, not getting into their business, but just as it related to the show, what did that do for you guys or you personally as a cast?
I mean, I really didn't feel like it had anything to do with us. My main concern was who were they going to fill the other couple spot with? Like, right. I'm not a couple, right? So at this time when they leave, I'm rolling solo. So I'm just like, I don't know where we go from here. Like, what does that look like as a cohesive unit? So it was interesting to kind of see, the Duncans come in and then the Pettys come in. I was always concerned about continuity, about whether or not the group would gel with the new group. But yeah, I really didn't feel any kind of way. I honestly was like, look, I'm in here to do what I need to do, and I'm out regardless. You know what I mean? Like, I knew that this was honestly it for me. But I think, honestly, honestly, between the Tylers and the Silvas, they were willing to take on a challenge.
Oh, they did. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. They definitely picked up the gauntlet. So with season 2, now we're in season 2, we're filming. We found out early on that, I know this might not be what you want to talk about, but early on, we see you meet Yusa. At the podcast recording with the Duncans.
Correct.
Now, I'm glad that something that was said at the reunion, I think is something that us as viewers needed to put into context. You guys literally dated for 4 months. But because of the way this season drug out, it really seemed like it was a lot longer. So when you put it into context of 4 months, when you say, hey, I met him, we dated, and it didn't work out, but because it's on the show and because of some other things that I'm going to ask you about, it seemed, it probably seemed a lot more sensationalized after that. So you meet Yusa. When did the red flags, or when did those hairs on the back of your head say, wait a minute, something might not be right here?
Yes. So let's give a little context of timeline. We started filming in October of 2022. I met Yusa in November of 2022. Okay. So we're getting to know each other. We're dating. Now, this is from like mid-November on. We didn't become official until New Year's Eve, something like that. So like a month and a half after just kind of dating. He wanted to be exclusive. Context, he's Muslim. They date a specific way. So he wanted to exclusively date. No problem. No issue with that. And honestly, intellectually, we clicked. Where we honestly started to have issues was really his feelings around filming and how he was navigating his dynamics on the show. So one of the things that he was very adamant about was me reconciling with Ashley. And he was like, you need to figure that out, because I can't have my girl beefing with the hottest DJ in the DMV. It's just not cool. I'm an artist. That was the first red flag.
Wow.
And it's in text. Like, I'm not making this stuff up. Like, legit.
I believe you. I believe you.
His feelings. And that comment alone, I was like, So it's important for you to know that, because when we get to the cash trip, we're having a lot of couples conversations. And in my opinion, he's intentionally trying to side with different people to keep his connections and not offend anybody, versus everybody else who's a couple is riding as a couple. So when we get back and I make the comment, hey, if I'm going to feel by myself, I'm going to be by myself. You're not going to have me out here looking stupid just because you don't want to ruin no relationships in case this don't go the way you want it to. You are definitely looking out for yourself versus considering my feelings as a girlfriend.
Wow. So it wasn't just the Joy conversation. It was other conversations where you felt like he sort of sided the opposite of how you felt he should have sided.
He always did that. Like literally in our little the clip that you guys saw, he's saying like, I just believe you're so great and I like to call you up and hold you to a higher standard. Because the thing is, Joy was never a factor. Now, this is where editing is crafty. When I saw that they kind of made the season like me and the Silvas versus the Tylers and the Pettys, this is why they had to make it seem like I was mad at him because of Joy. But Joy was never an issue ever. Me and Joy was cool, actually. When I sat down with her for our scene after we got back from the trip and she told me that Yusa reached out to her, I told her, listen, Yusa and I talked about the whole situation with Terry, and I actually understand how you could have felt uncomfortable because I don't care for Terry. And so I said, I definitely can see how you felt, attacked by her in that moment, because Terry did come at her hard. They cut all that out. So all y'all see is her telling me that Yusa reached out to her, which again was another red flag because Yusa, being Muslim, was very adamant about not addressing husbands or wives before reaching out and getting permission from their husbands. He always did that with Jamie and Arena and Ashley and Quick, but he didn't do that with Joy. And I'm like, and so I asked Clifton at the reunion, did he reach out to him? And Clifton said no. They cut. I don't know if they left that in or not.
I don't remember seeing that. No.
Yeah. So I asked Clifton, I said, Clifton, you should get your permission to reach out to Joy. Did you know he was reaching out to her? He was like, no, I didn't. Joy told me.
Oh, wow. So I know you said before, the belief was the issue. His beliefs, the fact that he wasn't Christian when did you find out that he was Muslim?
I found out that Yusa was Muslim. So funny thing, the Duncans didn't even know he was Muslim because he always
not their friend of 10 years. However many years, I don't know. However many years.
So I'm trying to think. I want to say this was in February, maybe. So we had already been dating for a couple of months. And a friend of mine, that's a mutual friend of me and the Duncans, literally was like, how are things going? Because he dated a friend of mine and she was, she quit dating him because he's kind of strange. Like that was literally, she was like, but he is Muslim. Did you discuss that? Like, is that a problem for you? And I was like, he's not Muslim.
Like, girl, what you don't know him?
Right. Like, I was like, he ain't Muslim. She said, Winter, he is Muslim. I said, no, he's not. We literally pray and read scriptures. Like we send each other scriptures. She was like, Winter, he is Muslim. I said, she's like, has he ever said he was a Christian? I was like, we've talked about being Christian. He calls himself a believer. She was like, right, because Muslims call themselves believers too.
Wow.
So we ended up having a conversation and he said, I don't like to get into conversations about religion because people are always very weird about it, especially Christian women. But I will just tell you, I actually consider myself half Muslim and half Christian. I read the Bible and the Quran. I was like,
okay,
Jesus Christ.
Okay, wow. Well, that came up. And again, remember, y'all, for the audience, it was only 4 months, so that came up in February. They broke up in April, right?
Yeah, first week in April, literally.
So it wasn't that long when she found it, because I know the next people in the chat gonna be like, well, why she stay with him then?
I was
only there for another month, child. She was only there for another month.
And let me be very clear. So let me tell you why it was another month, or I would have broken up with him. I did not want to break up with him on camera. I did not want to break up with him on camera. Okay. That would have spun this into a whole different thing that was not that serious. It was a dating relationship. You date to collect data. We dated long enough for me to collect the data that I needed to collect, and it didn't work out.
Yeah, it did. Listen, again, and 4 months is not, 4 months is 4 months, child. Right. So the opportunist situation, when did those, because again, I know a lot of stuff you found out after the fact, or maybe you found out from production. So when did you find out about some of the other things that that you knew were going on as it relates to that?
Yeah, so I actually had a conversation with Sherelle really right after we got back from the cash trip. So this would have been late February. Yusa and I started having a lot of communication problems by this time. And I'm not saying that he's a monster. It's just one of those things where you just learn that this isn't the person for you. He's the right guy for somebody. If you're into that, fine. That just wasn't for me. But when it came to the opportunism, I kind of felt that during the season from time to time. He was very adamant about trying to include his products. And more specifically, when we went to pack for the cash trip, I was in charge of the cash trip. And definitely, I wanted to do these boxes. I don't know if they show these boxes or not. So I do custom boxes for each couple. And he wanted to put his products in this box, but he wanted to do it on camera. Well, production was like, no, we cannot do that. We haven't properly introduced you individually as you're not a part of the cast. So you haven't been properly introduced for us to include your products. Like, it just doesn't make sense in the storyline. So no, you can't do that on camera. When I tell you, he had to sit and have a Zen moment. He got so angry that they told him that he couldn't put his socks in my gift box. And he sits there and he's like,
now he had to do his breathing exercises.
I'm not kidding. One of our main producers, our site producers, had to pull him to the side and have a conversation with him. And I was like, what's so deep? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why does it matter? If somebody said, hey, you can't put your socks in there, to me, if you're here for me, it don't matter.
Yeah.
But for you to get that upset over not being able to have your socks being filmed or your products being filmed, that's an issue. And he was like, well, I'm doing this on my own time. I ain't getting paid for this. That's the least they can do. Sir, you knew that when you signed the participation agreement that you were not getting paid for this. For you to pitch a fit now, the math ain't mathing. And the only thing I can connect it to is you literally trying to squeeze any sort of press or promo out of this that you can. So that was like my first kind of like, and I talked to Sherelle about it. I was like, it just rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like how he acted with the crew. I pride myself on welcoming them into my home and being very courteous and kind. I don't ever want them to feel uncomfortable. And technically he's here because he's dating me. So that was the first indication. So later, definitely it just got worse. He just started doing some really what I consider shady stuff and manipulative stuff. My friends were contacting me about some of the things he was doing. He was calling my best friend that he had just met 2 months ago, trying to talk to her about our relationship business. And I'm like, sir, no. We don't do stuff like that. We ain't been together long enough for you to be doing stuff like that. And to believe that she wouldn't come tell me, he was going to Sherelle, asking her about the conversations her and I were having. It just was some shady stuff. So I didn't want to break up with him on camera. And then Easter came and that just shot it to hell. I was like, I'm good. I told production I wasn't going to film with him anymore. I stopped filming with him mid-March. We were supposed to have another confessional, and I told production I wasn't willing to do any more confessionals. So they actually had to go back and redo me and the Duncans confessionals because I wouldn't film with him anymore.
Okay. All right. So I know something you said the other night when I was watching the recap on your channel the other night. You made mention that there was an incident where he went on the news and represented himself as like a star of the show.
Child, yes, Arena sent me the clip. She saw him on the news and literally she was like shaking my head. That's a mess. I was like, I was blown. And we actually had a whole text argument about that too. Because I'm like, first of all, you have some audacity using my clip. He used my clip to intro himself in. And the newscaster was like, y'all welcome the star of Love and Marriage. I'm like, what?
And he ain't even on the show. He signed a participation. He signed a waiver. Wow.
Child, I was so annoyed. I was like, what is happening? But that's the type of stuff he was doing. But again, the audience isn't going to get to see all of that because a lot of this started falling out the bottom when we wrapped filming. Aside from that, I honestly think Yusa and I could have remained cordial. Mm-hmm. But the manipulative behind, like he asked Carmen to do some PR for him. You don't even know Carmen. What are you doing? So Carmen actually was like, I told him no. She actually called and told me. She was like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, I know him because of you. I connected him with my stylist. This was another issue. To style him for an award show that he had. I said, hey, can you do me a solid? Can you style us both? She said, sure, Winter, I got y'all. After we broke up, he was still reaching out to her to style him for free, might I add.
For free?
So
Child.
when I say opportunist, I'm not just going off of, oh, people think, oh, they broke up, now she mad and she just, no. These are real circumstances and events that are happening that contribute to why I'm good on it. I cut off all contact, because if you're just trying to pimp me for my contacts, right, then you're not genuine. And I don't want to deal with anyone who's just using me, because I genuinely tried to get to know him. So I don't know. It was unfortunate, but that's the way to cook crumb.
I understand. Now I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna move on. Now I also heard you was getting phone calls from other women.
Not phone calls, but yes, a ton of DMs. That's true.
Lord. So it was a lot going on with Mr. Yusa. So suffice to say, it wasn't just one thing, that it was just a variety of things, and it was a 4-month, relationship, and it is what it is.
Yeah. And again, one of the things that I learned about myself, and I've had to work this out through therapy, is to slow my butt down. I'm one of those hopeless, and I don't like to say hopeless, hopeful romantics, where I would say I do fall fast, but I'm also very guilty of falling out very fast too, once I feel like it ain't going in the right direction. And then it's one of those things where I think it's more being in love with the idea
Of
of
being
being
in love.
in love,
Mm-hmm,
not necessarily being in love. And I look back at that and I'm like, I mean, he told me he loved me too, but I think it's the things that we say when we are in this phase of, I call it the puppy love honeymoon phase.
The honeymoon. Yep, that honeymoon phase.
And when that thing is tested, you realize that ain't real love. Like, so a lot of that is my own work and learning how to slow my butt down. And I feel like I needed to date Yusa to test that theory, because typically, if I really do love someone, I would have suffered through. I would have tried to figure it out, but it just wasn't the right situation for me. And again, I don't think he's a horrible person, but if I'm getting DMs from women saying, hey, I was dating him the whole time y'all were filming, that's a problem for me. Yeah. And I listen, when this show started airing, because a lot of people didn't know we were dating, and by the time people learned, we were already broken up, and the show hadn't started airing. So the reason why I got hit up with so much information was the show started airing again. So people thought this was real time. And oh boy, them people started rolling through. I mean, one of the DMs I got, they interviewed an ex of his. She accuses him of a lot in this interview. And they were actually questioning, honestly, why he was even chosen to be hooked up with me, because apparently they said that the Duncans were aware that he had this problem. And I was like, what? I'm like, it don't matter anymore. We're not together. We've been broken up for a long time, but thanks for letting me know. Yeah.
But has it affected your relationship with the Duncans, this whole Yusa thing?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, good.
No,
good,
we were
good.
And I'm gonna be honest. Y'all have to understand where we all live. None of us live close to each other. The Tylers and the Silvas,
they live near me. You don't have to say, but I know. Yeah, they live near me.
I live out west.
Yeah, yeah.
The Duncans live out in Egypt.
Not in Egypt. The Duncans are in Egypt. The Petties are in
Dubai.
Dubai. There you go. Yeah.
Okay, so we all live so far. So it's one of those things. We just don't see each other. I'm not gonna run into any of them at the grocery store. I tell this all the time. Like, it's not gonna happen. So we've all kind of naturally drifted apart because we just don't see each other. And it's not because we hate each other or that there's some issue. We just literally don't see each other. So no, it didn't hinder my relationship with the Duncans. This was not the reason. And I feel like honestly they were very fair. I have this crazy. So he and I had one final blow up with I felt like he was doing some manipulative stuff. And y'all brought him to me. He y'all friend. So I'm not going to just, no, I'm so serious. I'm not just going to address him because it's important that y'all know. I don't want him lying and telling y'all something I said. Y'all can hear what I have to say. So I put everybody in a group chat, and we were in a full blown back and forth. Bless Sherelle and and Black's patient hearts, because that was one heck of a group chat. But he said his piece, I said mine. And honestly, that was the last time I spoke to him. Like, he wanted to have a final conversation, but I'm like, sir, like, I know all I need to know at this point. And I feel like he's a person that struggles with accountability. He wasn't going to apologize or take ownership. His thing was, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. It's not just that I'm sorry I feel that way. You need to take accountability for what you did.
What happened. Right. So it's not how I feel, it's the experience. Yeah.
Right.
Got it.
And I can't deal with people like that. Like, I can take ownership. Yeah. I literally am like, hey, if what I said hurt your feelings, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? That's taking ownership, not I'm sorry you feel that way. And when I asked him, did he have any accountability? He said, myself. I said,
well, now.
Yeah, you can't win with it.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to clear that up because, again, I think, and honestly, it wasn't until this final part of the reunion where I was like, you know what? Yeah, because again, because of how stretched out this season was, it's hard for us as the viewers to put anything into perspective. Because now I want to ask you a little bit, because I'm going to be honest with you, as a reviewer, I was on the fence about doing the second half of this reunion because I follow everybody on social media and I knew where you guys were as a cast. And I said, I do not want this to become toxic, because there are other shows, I'm not going to say their names, where it becomes hard to review the show because the cast and the fan base have become so combative. And I was really nervous, but I decided to do it. One, because I want to support a DC thing. You know, I want to support that. But also, I like you guys. Like, everybody I like y'all, as a cast and, that kind of thing. And so I came back to review, and I'm glad I did. But as a following the show, it's so hard to know, okay, so this happened first and then that happened, but then y'all were cool, but then y'all weren't cool, but then it looks like y'all all right, but now y'all on Twitter, and it's so to the best of our ability in the time we have left, because I want to keep y'all all night. The situation with the Tylers, as much as you are free to speak on, the situation with the Tylers, from my understanding, Carmen had a party. Now, when in the timeline did that party happen?
2022, August.
Okay. So August of 2020. And this was obviously not filmed. It was not on the show. But y'all were in the y'all were filming. But this event just wasn't filmed, right?
No, we weren't filming at all.
Oh, y'all weren't filming.
No.
Okay. So the situation happened at the party again. Some things were allegedly said about Arena. Now, that night, did you speak to the Tylers, whether it was Jamie or Arena, about that? Okay, so everybody went on about their do Merry Little Way. Yeah. Now, the conversation at the seafood restaurant.
Yes.
When you were telling them about the group trip. That used to be my spot, by the way, too. Their happy hour is pretty good. But anyway, and that's why I love the local shows, because I'm like, I know that place. I've been there, whatever. But so before we see the conversation with you telling them about the cash trip and you telling Ashley, hey, you need to have a conversation, yada, 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 which I don't want you to speak for other people, so we won't say that. But before that, you and Arena were having a conversation about that incident because something had happened on Twitter.
Correct. Right? So, August 2022, this happens. Jamie, Arena, and I make amends at a holiday party in December of 2022.
Okay.
In the midst of making amends, we're seeing each other at our cast premiere party, and we're basically trying to move forward. Gotcha. Jamie and I get into a DM conversation, and we're rehashing all the stuff that's happened from season 1 on. He's trying to explain their side. I'm trying to explain my side. We get into what's brought up at Carmen's party. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm just being honest. He's being honest. I don't think anything of it. I didn't believe the guy. I didn't accuse Raina. I personally felt like the dude was clout chasing.
Gotcha.
It doesn't go any further. Literally. Like, okay, we laugh, joke, move on. Okay. Next thing you know, we are going at it. I'm thinking this is related to, okay, the show back on. We just bantering on Twitter. It wasn't until I talked to her before that cast scene, or before that scene on the cast trip, that I realized she was upset that I said something to Jamie about it. And I'm like, I didn't realize I did anything wrong. Like, he and I were just talking. We both being honest about everything. And I said, in fact, I told him I defended you when the guy was running his mouth. She was like, you just need to leave it alone and stay out of it. Like, it's no reason for you to say anything about it. I'm like, okay, cool. I won't. You got it. I'll leave it alone. Ashley later tells me, you know, Raina's mad at you because of what you told Jamie. And I was explaining to her, like, Ashley, I really didn't think I did anything wrong. Me and Jamie were talking. I was being honest. It was actually explaining to him, like, hey, I defended her when this dude was running his mouth. No harm, no foul. And I was like, we had a conversation. It's good. We moved on. We never talk about this again, y'all. This is February 2023. This does not come back up again until Raina does an interview, and she doesn't tell what that conversation that we had at that seafood restaurant was about. She was like, I told her she either quit coming from my, coming from my marriage, or being messy, or I ain't gonna fool with her no more. And I'm like, no, that's not what we talked about. You talked about that conversation. So when I went on Reality Rundown and he played the clip for me, I said, she's not being honest. That's not what we talked about in that scene. This is what we talked about.
Okay.
From that point forward, things go left. And that's when somebody, we don't know who, they swear up and down it was me, but I would never do that. I would have never went to a blogger to, please, if I'm going to release it, I would have released it. I don't have a reason to. We're not beefing. I wouldn't intentionally create beef. I'm trying to get out the beef. So somebody found out who he was and released his picture to the blogs. That's when it all went to hell.
Well, let me say this, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to clear Winter's name. I know Winter wasn't the person that sent the picture.
Well, thank you.
Now, whether anybody chooses to believe me or not, it wasn't me either. But I know it wasn't you, because some other information has come out since then, and I know it wasn't Winter. Now,
so
let's what you want.
I appreciate that, but I am confident enough. My thing has always been, I'll go as low as you go. And even with season 1, even though it's edited out, I didn't go as low as I did until they went low for me. I match energy. Me and the Tylers were rebuilding. I didn't trust them all the way, and they didn't trust me all the way. But it does not make sense to throw that type of gasoline when I'm trying to exit on a good note. I would never do that. And I just would never do that. I don't want to be in that type of mess. I think there's good, fun shade. There's, shady shade, but there's low and below the belt. And I just wouldn't have done it. Even when they claimed that it was Brittany. Let's be clear. If he had said Brittany's name, I would have told him he said Brittany's name. I didn't have any reason to lie to him at the time. So I know what I would and wouldn't do, and I just did not send the picture. It's unfortunate, honestly, that his picture got released, because I personally never even told his name. Like, I've been known his name. I never told his name. So
Mm-hmm.
I hated that it went down, but it went to a really ugly, nasty place. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why we are where we are, because that insinuation and that accusation caused me to get threats, cyberbullying, harassment. Because again, if you're saying you think it's me and you're not correcting that you think it's me, people are going to take it and run with it, because just like I have fans, they have fans. And it's morphed into the ugly. Ugh.
It's
Like,
I hate to see I just hate as a cast. I hate to see where you guys are as a cast. I really, really do.
yeah,
So we get to, because again, I don't want to bring other people's storylines in. I want to
yeah.
stick with Winter. So we've talked about Yusa, we've talked about the Tylers. I love the fact that you and Ashley are building a friendship.
Yeah.
um Again, we didn't get a chance to see a lot of that on camera, but how did that start to evolve?
Yeah, you wouldn't have seen it on camera at all, because that's the funny thing about how this season is edited. They had to go back and ask us for pictures and photos together, because all of that was done after the season. We were not cool during the season like that. We were still very much trying to baby deer our way into figuring each other out. So a lot of our friendship growth came afterwards. And we all were doing our best. In fact, I was still doing my best with the Tylers and the Petties, because I don't really know the Petties. So I was trying to purposely go and support everybody at their different things. I went to Jamie's party a year ago. Like, I was trying my best to clear the air, because again, I knew I wasn't coming back. But like production always says, we'll give you, think about it, like,
Right, right.
and I think I might have considered it. I ain't saying I would have changed my mind. I think I might have considered it. But when I tell you the way this social media stuff has played out has reaffirmed my decision that it just ain't worth it to me. Yeah, it just really kind of blossomed after that point. And her and I had to have really tough conversations, because I said things that hurt her. She said things that hurt me. In fact, one of the scenes that didn't make it, I told her I thought she looked older than me. That really hurt her feelings. And I take ownership for saying it. But that's what I said.
Right, right. No, and
Those
I'm not laughing at, I'm just picturing the conversation. Because you have a
girl,
way of saying things that just roll off very matter of fact. Like, it's
okay,
not even like you're trying to throw the shade, you're just saying it. And it's like,
correct.
and so I'm picturing how it came out is why I'm
Oh, it
laughing.
was
Right.
terrible. She tried to fight me after that scene. That was the scene where her and I had met for the first time since all the, like, we were like oil and water. We just literally are two very
Oh,
fiery
and was
persons.
that at the aerobics thing when y'all were at the aerobics in the? Oh, that did get ugly. Yeah, that did get ugly.
Yes. So this is the first time we meet up after that. And it still didn't go well. Like, people, I mean, I think
Mhm.
everybody on production was like, these two are just never going to see eye to eye. I mean, me saying that, our CEO for KRE was on site that night, and she looked at me. She was like, Winter, we were doing so well. Why did you have to go there? And I was like, like, I was trying. And then she pushes my buttons, and this is what we get in return. So, all that to say, we worked really hard. I think we have an understanding of each other now, where we understand each other's boundaries. We still get on each other's nerves sometimes. We still have arguments. She didn't like that I posted on social media when we first started the season that I felt like she had no business telling Joy's business. We had a whole disagreement about that. Like, okay, cool. You may not like it, but this is honestly how I feel. I'm still my own person. I don't know why people
Right,
think that I'm kissing her butt. And she's younger than me, so I'm very set in my ways.
right, right,
I'm
right,
not rah-rah, and I'm not like, I'm just not gonna be hood with it. That's not my personality. She calls it
right.
a nice nasty church lady shade. That was me. So we've just grown. I don't know. Me and her are super cool. We don't see each other all the time, but when we hang out, we have fun. And like I said, that's come through a lot of work, and getting to know her outside of the show has been very
Mhm.
helpful. I think if I still was dealing with Ashley on the show, I don't know that we would be here. But getting to know her outside of it, it's been very nice. And we have a connection now. My boyfriend and Quick do business together when it comes to commercial real estate. So we hang out as couples. Yeah, like that's something we have in common now, but it's cool. She's not as bad as she seems.
Yeah, because I follow y'all on social media, and when I saw last summer that y'all went on vacation together, I had to clean my screen. I said, "Is that Winter with Ashley?" I said, "Wait a minute."
We had a good time.
Again.
Let me tell you what, we're actually planning our next one. When I tell you we had so much fun, I think it was 8 or 9 girls on this girls trip. You know, Latrice from Bell
Collector was with you guys too.
That's our girl too. Like we are cool. Like, but that was an amazing trip. I'm not even gonna hold you. We had a good time, and I was concerned. I was like, I don't know how this is gonna go, but we ended up having a ball.
Well, I was listening as a viewer. I was certain because that was during that long hiatus, and so where we left off, you guys weren't cool, you know. So I'm like, how are they in wherever they went together and they are chilling? I said, and they're not filming. Because you know, I could tell y'all weren't filming, so I was like, well, what are they doing?
We just chilling.
I see. I had a good time. Now, since you brought it up, I was gonna go there, but since you brought it up, so you got a new boo thing?
I do. So, a fun fact. I met him the day before I was introduced to Yusa. We met at a networking event, and he never shot a shot. We ended up just becoming friends and getting to know each other. But what's interesting to me is that we actually had more things in common. He's a church kid like me. And I thought there was something there, but like I said, he never shot a shot. So I'm like, okay, I ain't gonna put myself on hold. Like, I'm gonna go on about my life.
Right.
But we literally just built a friendship, and coincidentally, he reached out literally, I would say about 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks after I broke up with Yusa. And we just got to talking. He asked me out on a date, and we have been dating ever since. We dated for about 6 months though before we became official. I had learned my lesson. I'm like,
we're gonna slow this thing down.
You ain't about to get me, guy. No. But honestly, this has been a really nice, genuine connection. And, you know, I took a lot longer.
He's very nice looking, Winter. He's very nice looking. See, if y'all remember on Winter's channel, y'all know what he looked like. You gotta be a member though. You can't gotta pay for the privilege.
So you do know.
I
forgot. You are a member.
I'm nosy.
Him is very handsome. And but you know, I had to take some time this time. Like, we just have taken our time, but it's been so nice. So nice. And he's such a nice guy. He would never do reality TV ever. So I'm glad that he's just supportive. He literally supports me in my media endeavors, but he does and has his own thing. And so we've been dating for a year now. So
well, we are happy. Well, I am happy. I'm gonna speak for myself. I'm happy for you because you smile, and whenever you talk about him, you just smile, child. So I'm happy for you. So you have been very clear, unequivocally, 120% that you are not coming back. You have given in your notice.
Yes.
You have packed up your desk. You have given away all of the things, and you are on your way out of the door. Friday was your final day on the job.
Yeah.
You saw it. Can't nobody convince you to do another season.
Oh, no.
Okay, I tried, Carlos. I tried.
No. And honestly, my life has changed so much in the last year for the better. but I just want to pursue so many other things. I do want to take my acting seriously. I do want to take some of the media projects that I want to do seriously. And unfortunately, when you do this type of TV, you're locked in and it prevents you from giving your full attention to other things. So I have to get beyond this so I can get out of my claws. Like we can't do anything else for a period of time. And I got to have that clock start so I
Unless
can.
you want to do Below Deck on Bravo, but never mind. I'm sorry. That was shade. I'm gonna shut up. That was me. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I apologize. That was me being shady. I apologize.
I'm paying to do nothing. That's what I heard is you got to pay to be on it, and I'm not paying to do nothing. It's like $6,000. It's $6,000 to $9,000.
Oh, I did not know that.
I didn't either. A friend of mine got asked to do it not too long ago, and she was like, "Girl, that thing cost $6,000 to do. I'm good." I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be seen that bad.
Well, and I'm gonna put that one in my back pocket. Okay.
I know that's literally. Actually, so if you go to my Twitter page, I was in a conversation about this. People thought I was being shady. I'm like, y'all think we care about our cast and think about our cast all the time. I just don't. My friend legitimately got asked, and I was like, so y'all telling me you got to pay? And people started chiming in and said, yes, you're essentially paying to be on the yacht.
So you would pay as if you were going on a trip and they're just filming you while you're there.
Correct.
Okay. Which is okay. Interesting. I don't watch Below Deck. I was really just being shady, and that was on me. I ain't
never seen Below Deck in years.
Yeah, I don't. It's not one of the shows that I watch regularly. Well, I don't think I've ever seen it. But I know it came up. It has come up a few times. So with that being said, we're gonna round it on out.
Yeah.
What is next? I mean, you kind of just spoke to it, but what is next for one? Because I know we got introduced to you as a public speaker and things like that, but I think people have sort of forgotten that you do a lot of those things. So what are you doing now outside of this? What are you doing now? And what is it that you're trying to do that you can speak to? I know some things you got to kind of keep close to the vest, but what is it that and for people who are in the area, what can we do to support if we want to come out and hear you speak or support you or that kind of thing?
Yeah, I would honestly encourage you to join my mailing list at simplywinter.com. That's where I release a lot of my event notifications or announcements. I'm getting heavily back into the speaking arena and events for women and minority business professionals. I'm actually working on a major conference that we're in the process of submitting proposals for sponsorships right now. And once we get that locked in, I will be making some major announcements. But I just want to go back to the things I'm passionate about. And I want to go back to the things that honestly speak to who I am as a person and the work I've done as far as being a philanthropist and raising awareness about different initiatives and topics. I am getting back into encouraging my women and helping them heal. I believe in inner healing, and it's so important as you grow and you evolve into the purpose that I feel like God has for you. So we're diving knee deep into the things that really put me on the map. They wouldn't have asked me, or Monique wouldn't have thought to ask me if I didn't already have an established platform. That's true. That is why I'm going back into growing my YouTube channel. I had started this back in 2012, and I didn't really get back into it until 2019. And it grew even to the size it grew because I was heavily into inner healing and ministry and things like that. So I am working on my second international retreat. And if you're interested as a lady into participating,
where we going?
So we went to Cancun. No, we didn't. We went to Puerto Vallarta the first time. I took 25 women to Puerto Vallarta. It was an all-inclusive luxury vacation, and we had a phenomenal time. The women from that trip, they had never traveled. A lot of them had never traveled outside of the country, but they had never met each other. And a lot of those women are still friends to this day. Like they literally formed a really nice bond, and I'm so grateful for that. So we're working on the second reiteration of that. It looks like it's either going to be Tulum or Jamaica. We're trying to work out our best deals with our resort because we literally want it to be a luxury experience, and we want to teach women how to treat themselves well. especially Black women. I feel like we are shamed for desiring the finer things in life. And for as much as we put up with, we deserve it.
Listen, listen, you preaching to the choir over here. I tell people all the time, I work hard, I play hard. And when I travel, I mean, and I like to travel a certain way. And my friends say, oh, you just bougie, you this, you that. No, that's how I like to travel. Now, I ain't saying I can always afford to be in the front of the plane, but I promise you I'm in the front more than I'm in the back. And you know, I feel like I work hard. Like what you gonna do with it?
Yeah.
You know, and so okay. Well, I put it up there, you guys. Simplywinter.com.
Simplywinter.com.
If you guys want to be added to her mailing list. Now, I know that's how I communicated with you, but let me let the people know to add me to the list, because I'm always down for a luxury vacation. I'm always down for that.
Yeah, and that particular initiative is called Grow Her.
Grow Her. Okay.
Grow Her. So if you look for the Grow Her Wellness Retreat, that's what it is. And so we get a group of women from all over the world. I mean, we have women come from, Canada, London. They all flew in to go to this. Y'all was incredible. Nice. It really was. So we're working on the second. And then we have the Romancipation locally. We want you to come out. We're working on the summer soiree. It's usually our all-white party, and we have a good time. My Romancipation has been sold out every single time we've done it. It's so much fun. It's a grown and sexy night out, though. So if you're looking for twerking and things of that nature, this is probably not the event for you. But if
we're not, there's no twerking. Really be don't twerk. Really be don't twerk.
If you want to just, have a fun night out and enjoy yourself and meet new people and network, then this is the event for you. So we're working on the next one of that. You guys know I write, and I did come out with my 9th book. It has taken me forever to get it out, but I also am in the business of writing a proposal for my 10th book that may honestly get picked up. So I will keep my eye under. Okay. I'll keep that, but I'll keep you guys abreast of what happens with that. But I am really pumped and excited. So yeah, I got a lot going on, y'all. I always have, but you don't see it on the show, and it's unfortunate. But you said
another round said me and her. Listen, y'all. She's a local YouTuber. I'm a local. She said, "Listen,
y'all need to message me. Y'all need to message me. I always look for fun hosts.
Okay, well,
I always look for fun hosts, and I love promoting local talent. Because again, I think the DMV has such incredible talent, and it's best to promote from within. I think we sometimes look to go out to big names, and I've intentionally built this Romancipation platform. I've nurtured it. I've grown it. Excuse me. I growed it, Lord Jesus. But I've grown it intentionally, grassroots. So the people that support it are local. Like, this is something for us. And weirdly, because I've grown it for us, people have flown in every single time to come be a part of it.
Listen, it's great. Now, I did my live review on Sunday because I stayed up listening to y'all's recap, and then I listened to Carlos's recap, and then I mixed it all together with the final episode. Yeah. And me and my subscribers came up with a whole new show for y'all based on what we felt and what I have said from the beginning of the season. I've been very consistent from the beginning of the season. I'm like, they need to gut the cast. And we were saying how I just feel that way. And we were saying how let me say this. Let me finish that. I've said they need to gut the cast, keep the Tylers because they get it. They play the reality TV game and they get reality TV. And that's no slight on other people, but they get it and they understand and they're cool with that, right? Mm-hmm. I've said that I think that Ashley is talented. I think she's funny and I think she's great for reality TV, but I don't think that this is the genre for her. That's that's my opinion. I said, the Duncan said they weren't coming back. You said you weren't coming back. And I don't think that the Pettys blended in very well. So I think that it needs to be gutted and they need to rebuild around the Tylers. Now, with that being said, pushing that to the side, we started having a conversation. I said, I think that Ashley would do well on a show like Bell Collective, like a DC version of Bell Collective, because Ashley is always She's got different, she's got her entrepreneurs. She's got her businesses. She is a boss that I don't think she got the opportunity to show. We talked about you. We talked about the Duncans being how Sherelle is an entrepreneur, but we didn't really get a chance to see a lot of that. So we had a whole conversation about a different genre of reality TV because I do think that you guys make good TV. I really do. I think you'd be great on Potomac. Oh my gosh, the shade that you could throw with those ladies, baby. But that's another conversation. I say all that to say, is there a version of reality TV that you would do again? Oh, I'm sorry. We came up with a name of the show too. Friends with the D. That's what we came up with. Was that it? Friends with the D. Friends with the D was the name of the show. Yep, that was it.
Friends with the D. That's hilarious. It sounds like a game show too. I'm right. It sounds like a game show. Is there a version of reality TV? So I think that's a fair assessment. I will not give my thoughts. I will say that I too have felt like it needed to be gutted.
Oh, Friends without the D. Okay.
And I say that because this cast is very disjointed. Who they decide to remove, like I really don't, if you gut it, you gut it. Who you decide to keep or lose, that's, their choice. But I think it could stand a whole complete recasting and rebranding of a sorts. Otherwise, I don't know that the audience truly invests as it is.
I understand.
I feel like we have lost a lot of steam from season 1. All that to say, for me, I learned through this experience that this is not a good fit for me. I think I shine because I'm kind of like the odd duck in the situation. I think, I'm not a DC native. I am very different than a lot of my cast. So I think I kind of stuck out for that reason. All that to say, I'm like, okay, this is not for me. What I do feel like would be a good fit for me is something like Traitors. I feel like I would be good on Traitors.
You would. I watch Traitors. You would be good. And you would be a good traitor. You would be a good traitor.
I feel like I would be amazing on a show like Traitors.
You will be good. I think you and Ashley should go on The Amazing Race. I think the two of you guys would be funny as hell on The Amazing Race.
So I think things like that, like Amazing Race, Survivor, The Challenge, that's Winter's lane. Like, I feel like I could make a good splash.
Okay.
And things like that. Otherwise, we got to go all the way to Food Network or HGTV.
Okay, that's more your thing.
Yes. And again, it's more my personality. I think that's why so many of my fans were a little bit disheartened and saddened by my time on Love and Marriage DC, because they're like, this is not Winter. Like, this is positive Patty. Like,
right.
This is everything opposite of who she is. And I just don't want to personally be a part of the negativity. And unfortunately, in this genre, you got to take the good with the bad. It's never going to be all positive. It's never going to be all kumbaya and we're all getting along. You have to incorporate the drama. And unfortunately, you don't get to pick your cast. So depending on how low your cast is willing to go is the level of the negativity you got to deal with. And I just don't want to do it. And it also has a tendency to take you out of character, because when it comes to fight or flight, when it comes to confrontational situations, I'm a fighter. I'm not going back down from no fight. My mouth is too quick. And as much as I would like to walk away, I ain't going to walk away. In fact, because I knew I wasn't coming back, I purposely bit my tongue a lot this season. Otherwise, we wouldn't have got to no reconciliation. When we were at that, what was that? Say That Shit event with Ashley.
Oh, that was a lot. That was a lot.
When I tell you, Sherelle is so funny. So Sherelle and I get there. We walk in together. Now, when we sit down, the first thing out of Arena's mouth is, why is Winter here? Now, in my mind, I'm like, ma'am, now you got the same call sheet I did. You know why I'm here.
You know why I'm here, girl.
So I'm like, Winter, shut up. Be quiet. You don't have to say nothing. Just relax. But they still were. Alicia, you got to remember, we're not cool. So Ashley's best friend Alicia's there taking digs, being smart mouth. Now I already called her a linebacker by this point. Like, don't take me back, please. I'm trying to move forward, and you really are testing the innermost bounds of my religion right now. So Sherelle is next to me. She was like, "You doing so good. You doing so good, Winter. You stay right there. You doing so good. I'm so proud of you." Knows me. I would have responded. I don't have it in me just to sit there and take disrespect. I don't. And so I purposely had to silence myself to not respond. Otherwise, we don't get to the cash trip. Like,
right. And the thing is this, like, as much as I love reality TV, I know I can't do reality TV because I have an off switch. So, like, the reason why I can, and I would say this to Ashley, the reason why I can say what I'm saying about Ashley, this not being a good fit, because Ashley can't let stuff go. And in reality TV, you gotta be able to let it go. You just have to. But I get that part of Ashley because I'm the same way. Once that switch is flipped with me, I can't. Like, I'm good. I'm good on you. I'm good on this. I'm good on all of it. Don't call me. I'm not coming. Don't invite me. It's like, so I get that part. That's why I can say it. And like I said, I would say it to her. I would say it because I don't have that. I just don't have that in me. Once I'm done, it's the cancer in me. Once I'm done, I'm done. And when I say you don't exist, I can walk in a room. I can stand right across from you and I will not acknowledge your presence. I'm done. I don't see you. You are not here. So I know I couldn't do reality TV because you have to have a level of being able to move forward, even if you don't mean it. And that's the thing. I can understand these people aren't always friends in real life, but they're doing their job.
correct.
And there has to be a point where you can move forward, even if you don't mean it. You know what I'm saying? And so I know that about me. God's still working on that because, like I said, it's people that I ain't spoke to in 20. I can't even tell you why I stopped speaking to them, but I know they don't exist.
Yeah.
I'll be working on that. God working on me.
And I feel like that's a Libra trait. We are very forgiving. We are very forgiving. And but it also, once you turn me off though, then you're probably going to hate me. Like, you take me to a place where that's not good. That's not good for anybody. Like, I'm like, please take it while I'm trying to be kind and nice. Because we ever flip flop, we going to hell. Like, it's like, I don't have, there's no in between. I'm very much, I try to be judicious. Catch me while I'm trying to be judicious, because once I flip that switch, I'm done being judicious. You've maxed out that opportunity.
Yeah, I put up with a lot. But once I'm done, once it's literally like a light switch, because I could literally just wake up and be like, yeah, I'm good on that. I'm good on them. I'm good on that. I'm good on this. I'm like that at work. I can do my job every day, but there's two people that I work with that I talk to outside of the building. But I do my job. I go and I'm pleasant and I can do what I need to do. But baby, when I walk out that door, I don't know none of them. But yeah, what I will say is this. First of all, I want to thank you so much. I really appreciate the conversation. I reached out to you and you said, I am taking a break right now, but I'm going to circle back. And you did. And I appreciate that. Winter is a woman of her word. She circled back because I don't like feeling like I'm badgering people. But I appreciate the interview. I appreciate the time and you being so candid.
Absolutely.
Know that my platform, I know you are building your own, but know that my platform is always a place where you get the book. If you want to plug the book, if you have an event coming up, you can send me the information. I will make sure that I am always putting it out there, even if I personally can't be there. And if I can, I'm gonna try to be there.
I
Um,
appreciate that. We do need to talk about the emancipation though.
oh yes, we can talk. Okay. But I did have a list of questions. I allowed my members to send me questions. I think I covered all of. If I did not ask your question, it's because maybe that was a question I wasn't going to ask. Sometimes y'all be asking some crazy stuff. But anyway, I think I covered most of the questions that you guys wanted me to ask. I think that Winter has given us a lot tonight. Make sure y'all go check out her Martha's Vineyard review. I have to watch the episode and then I have to check out your review. And again, if you are not subscribed to Winter Wonderland, y'all make sure y'all get over there and y'all subscribe to her channel. And if you are on Winter's side, you come on over and check us out. We have a good time over here.
Yes, I appreciate you. Listen, I do try to always be a woman of my word. And it's so funny because people are like, why are you doing an interview with Ashley? I'm like, I promised her that I would come back and do a final recap with her. I honored my word. Now, y'all probably saw that your girl checked out towards the end.
Yeah, you were over it. You were over it.
Yeah.
But I think DJ Richie Sky asked some good questions. I think he asked some really good questions as well.
He really did. And I love Rich. I love Richie. And I'm also thankful. Listen, some of y'all do an incredible job of showing all of us love. Whether you have your favorites or not, there are some CCs that literally try to show us all love, and that doesn't go unnoticed. That means a lot because, again, y'all, they're showing chopped up edited footage. You don't know who said what when in a lot of situations, and there's a lot left out. So I try to tell people it's fine to have your favorites when it comes to entertainment, but also be mindful that these are we're real human beings with real lives outside of this show. And a lot of us are doing some great work that never gets highlighted, but it is what it is, and you take it one day at a time, and you just keep moving forward. But
my apologies, Winter Womanland. I said it wrong. Yes. I said it wrong. Baby, they got me together. The snowflakes got me together. Winter Womanland. So please make sure you guys
think about that. It sounded close enough to me.
Oh, they heard it. They heard it. All right, you guys. We're gonna get out of here. Like I said, we've been here almost 2 hours, and I appreciate all of that. But we're gonna get out of here, and I will talk to you guys later. Peace. If you